everybody. I am so excited to have you back with me today. Today, I'm going to be covering a case study, and this is my own personal case study that allowed me to win a 2 Comma Club award from Clickfunnels. So for those of you that are not familiar with Clickfunnels, this is an online tool. It's an online program that allows you to develop landing pages and online sales funnels very easily and effectively. If you are not sure what a landing page is, this is a single page that is designed to send traffic to with one single goal in mind. And that is typically to either get them to purchase or to get them to sign up for something, and ultimately send them down into a very specific process based on their interest, the thing that they ultimately reached out for, that will lead in a sale. So a funnel is a collection of those landing pages. So that could be your opt-in page, your thank you page, your webinar page. There's a lot of different types of landing pages that can create a sales funnel, but the funnel itself is that series of pages. In reality, the term sales funnel can mean more than just that. You can have a completely organic sales funnel that isn't using a landing page. It is ultimately the process of taking a cold audience and funneling them down into leads and prospects and ultimately buyers. So that's a little bit about ClickFunnels, what a landing page or a funnel actually is. And so ClickFunnels has developed an award called the 2 Comma Club Award. This award is given to those who have been able to generate over $1 million in revenue for a single business, for a single sales funnel online. So this has to be verified. You have to submit all the evidence of this actual revenue that was produced and show them the process that someone went through in order to ultimately make that sale. This is typically something that is utilized for e-commerce businesses, for coaching businesses, for people that sell courses or information products. There really was not a huge understanding from the local business community in terms of how these could be used to generate such significant revenue. It was really my goal to not only drive revenue, which is obviously the main objective for most of us in business, but also to be able to inspire others, to show them what was actually possible. So being able to win this 2 Comma Club award, it's really done a lot in terms of verification. As most of us know, the online marketing industry is full of a lot of people who claim to know certain things, who claim to be able to do certain things, and when it comes time to deliver, they simply don't know what they're doing. So being able to have something that allows my clients or students to know that this is verified, that this has been proven, and that it is a fact, that is amazing in and of itself. But it's also been something that's really awesome to show other local business marketers or local business owners that this is something that can be used for your business. This is not just for e-commerce or coaches. And so what I want to do is explain the process of how I came to win this award, what the offer was, what the steps of the funnel were, and really the challenges that we had to overcome while this was going on. So this is a remodeling business that offers design services and installation. They also sell products as well. And I was very committed to creating the best possible marketing system for this business. I was running Facebook and Instagram ads. We were doing content marketing, SEO, website management, really everything related to this business. So what I wanted to do first and foremost was, number one, have something that would allow me to much more easily see the return on investment produced from my ad dollars. It is not always an easy thing to see when you're dealing with a local business, and that's because the transactions happen offline 99% of the time. There has to be something in terms of a conversation that actually closes the sale. That might be a phone conversation. That might be an in-person appointment. That is going to be something that has to lead in to that actual sale being made. Well, the problem is that so many businesses don't have a CRM in place that's consistently updated, maybe the POS system they're using or the credit card servicing provider. It's not all tying in to the same place. Therefore, there is a huge disconnect in terms of what did we do online to produce leads, to drive traffic, and how many of those people actually converted. And even farther than that, what was the dollar amount in revenue that we made from those conversions? And what does that tell us about our return on ad spend? So this was something that was very important for me to figure out, because without that information, you essentially are flying blind. It doesn't matter how good your ads are, how many leads you're getting, how many people are showing interest. If you have no idea which ads or which campaigns are actually producing real paying customers, you're not making the best decisions. So in the past, many people would drive traffic to their website homepage, or maybe they would drive traffic to a blog or something like that. However, the problem with those methods is that it gives the audience, that person who's clicking, it gives them way too many choices. And ultimately, as consumers, most of the time when we have too many choices available to us, we just don't do anything. So sending someone to a homepage of a website, first of all, you're not really telling them what you want them to do. You're really just saying, hey, here's what I have. Look around and decide for yourself. That's not an appropriate or effective way to generate leads. You need to be specific. You need to have a very clear goal, a very clear endpoint, and you need to show that to that consumer who's going through the process. So what I wanted to do was create a funnel for this business that was built to generate appointments. So appointments were ultimately the way that we produced revenue in this business. The appointments with the designers, this was for kitchen and bath remodeling primarily, was a way to allow them to connect with that person who would be designing their kitchen or bathroom. They would ultimately make all of the product decisions, the layout decisions. They would be able to put together a really accurate cost and timeline. And then they would be able to sell them the products and the installation services. So that's really the way this business functioned. So the goal was, we don't just want people walking in, checking things out, and leaving without really making some type of appointment or commitment. This was not an appointment-only business. People could come in, look around, check things out, buy something independently if they wanted to, but that is not where the most money was being made. So when you're coming up with an offer, you really want to focus on creating an offer that actually helps you make the most money, but also something that's going to be best for the client or the consumer. It was not best for the client or consumer to just come in and check things out, because there is so much to know about kitchen and bath remodeling. It's a very overwhelming process for someone who hasn't gone through it before. And even for those who have gone through it, it can still be an overwhelming process. So what I wanted to do was make sure that they had every opportunity to have an appointment with these professional designers. The designers were going to make this process easier for them. It was going to reduce their stress. It was going to help them actually have a much better visual design and get all of those details laid out on the front end so that they had the confidence to move forward with their project and ultimately pay a significant amount of money for this company to handle it for them. So that was the end goal, get them to an appointment with these designers. Now the question is, what is our offer going to be to get them there? So the offer that we created was for free design services. So ultimately, this could have just been a free consultation, but in the mind of a consumer, a free consultation or a free estimate, people feel as though that's just a sales call or a sales meeting, and most of the time they're right. What we want to do in our offer is provide tremendous value, show people why this is something you need to take advantage of right now. So free design services is the way that we did that. we were able to really develop rapport with that client during the process, really understand their wants and needs. Why were they doing this? What were their goals? Were they going to be selling their home? Were they going to be staying there forever? All of those things that actually do go into the decision-making process when it comes to how much you're going to spend, what the design will look like, the functionality, all of those things. So that rapport process, it really has to be done around the design. Those questions could be asked to someone, but they're not necessarily going to understand why you're asking, and maybe they're not going to give you an honest response. But when it comes to actually helping them design this space, they're going to be very forthcoming. They're really going to give you the information that you need to put together an effective plan for them. This is the same way that you would do it if you were a local marketing agency. Not every client has the same needs or budgets or desires or back-end structure of their business. You're not going to give people a one-size-fits-all price. And if you're doing that, then I don't really recommend it, because it means you're not ultimately looking at these businesses as individual businesses. You need to be looking at them and saying, what is going to be best for them? How can I put together a custom proposal for them? So we were taking it a step farther though, and we were giving them something really tangible, something really valuable and exciting, which was this 3D rendering of what their new space would look like based on their measurements, their selections, and their wants and needs. Not only is this giving someone a real tangible value that they can see, that they can touch, that they can really use in terms of making their decision, but it's also going to very much showcase the transformation. Any business out there provides a transformation. For some of us, it's physical, such as a kitchen or bath remodel. That's something you can see. For some of us, it's actually physical in terms of your body, such as the weight loss industry or the beauty industry. There's also internal or emotional transformations that happen. Sometimes it's because you're no longer dealing with a problem that you were facing. That's a transformation. Sometimes it's because you now have access to something or a feeling that you didn't have before. That's also a transformation. Anytime we're marketing something, we want to focus on the transformation first and foremost, because that's all that people really care about. So this offer actually shows them that transformation better than anything else ever could. So it does serve them, but ultimately it serves the business as well, because it's going to provide for more conversions. So the way that this had worked in the past was that these designers had really relied on foot traffic primarily. They were in the habit of believing that somebody walking through the door and coming up to them, that was the only type of lead that they should be focusing on. They weren't doing cold calling. Their follow-up was very poor before I came in, and it just was not a great process. They were losing a lot of sales that could have been made. They were just missing out on a lot of opportunities, truth be told. So I really wanted to make that process as simple as possible, considering the fact that it can be very difficult to get people to change their ways. And if you're a business owner, if you manage employees, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. People get stuck in a habit of doing things a certain way, and maybe it's you yourself, and they have a hard time changing it. Even if they know that this is going to serve them much better, they're just not willing to do it sometimes. If you can show someone the direct positive impact it's going to have on them, you're going to have a much better chance of getting them to do that, but sometimes it's still not enough. If you have any type of team where there are several people involved, you also have to understand that people are not going to do the same thing the same way every single time. Even if you train them on how to do it, unless you are very meticulous and you are checking on them and ensuring that things are being done a certain way, which you should be doing, you're going to get a lot of variation in terms of the way these processes are executed. So we wanted to have something that would remove as much of those variables as possible, because ultimately that was going to allow us to be much more successful. So that's kind of the backstory on the business, some of the problems they were facing. They were not great at lead follow-up. They had very disjointed internal processes. And so what I wanted to do was take as much weight off of them as possible, not because I was trying to make things easier for them, but because in all honesty, their lack of processes or unwillingness to change would have cost a lot of sales. If you are the business owner, sometimes that's simply what you have to do. You have to create processes that actually take the ability to screw up away from certain employees. And that's just the way things are. If you want to maximize every opportunity, you should be relying on a lot of automated processes. Ultimately, it's going to have to be human to human connection that makes the sale. And so if I were focusing on something with those individuals, their sales skills, either on the phone or in person, would be first and foremost, because that's something you're not going to be able to take away. But what you can take away is the communications and the process leading up to that appointment. Our ad strategy was very heavily focused on Facebook and Instagram, but we also had inbound SEO. We were doing a lot of content. So I wrote a lot of blogs, we did video marketing, and really optimizing the website for that organic search marketing. We really wanted to direct everyone to schedule their free design appointment. This was the offer. This is the natural best next step. This allows us to capture their contact information, even if they have to miss their meeting, so that we can continue to market to them for free, essentially. So this was something that was being directed from Facebook ads, from Instagram ads, and from the website. There weren't a ton of other traffic sources that were really contributing to this process. So what our ad strategy looked like was the same type of ad strategy that I use for my clients today and that I teach to my students. So this was, several years ago at this point, and I still use the same processes. So that is the really cool thing about when you find a system that works. Ultimately, for me, I always want to keep up with the changes on the platform, things like that. But that's not what makes someone a great marketer or makes their ad campaign successful. Ultimately, people focus too much on the technical setups and the changes in the algorithm. They forget that marketing is very fundamental in a lot of cases. It's very foundational. And if you're missing those pieces, it doesn't matter what options you select in Ads Manager, you're not going to succeed. That's probably the biggest thing that I try and teach my students and, really instill in my clients is that this is not a one-person job, and marketing is not an isolated department. It plays into a lot of other areas of your business. So if you want to be the most successful that you can be, you have got to improve those other areas as well. You have to have a system that's flowing together in harmony. So that was a really, really big focus for me, is making sure that once someone converted from an ad, that everything else was going to be working in our favor to close that sale. So our front end ad strategy is what we call level 1 in my programs. And this is education and engagement. This is done through educational video marketing. It's also done through educational, more post style ads. This could be a before and after. This could be a this or that. Which would you prefer, this or that? What would you love to have most, this amazing kitchen or this amazing bathroom? There's so many ways to do those engagement style pieces of content, but we are investing money into them. And the goal is to build a warm audience of people in the community that know who you are, that know what you do, and start to engage with you and show interest in what you're actually providing. These people are going to have a much easier time converting in the future because they're aware of you. It's very hard for someone to convert if they don't know who you are, but you cannot expect people to convert after seeing you one time. That's just not the way that we as humans make our decisions. Unless it's something we've been thinking about for a really long time, we have tried to reach out to people to get quotes in the past and no one will answer the phone. And we just say, okay, this person reached out to me basically, I'm going to sign up, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. But that is so much the exception to the rule that you cannot make decisions based on that. So what you really need to do is focus on building really great pieces of content. And the educational videos were so heavily involved in this process. That is something that we'll really have to talk about on another episode. But using the right topics for your videos to identify interest in your local audience, in your community. By engaging with those videos, we know that this is something that these people are thinking about. We also use those engagement posts for a similar purpose, but mainly to build more awareness, build more community and conversation, and also social proof, very important. So we had posts that had 10,000 likes, 500 shares, 600 comments. We had a lot of those. And the reason being is that that was part of our strategy. But I can't tell you how many times people would come up to me and say, oh my gosh, this social media page is amazing. Like, look at what you guys are doing. It doesn't even mean they engaged with it. But when you have a local business that has that type of engagement on their ads or posts, you're going to take notice. People in the community are going to take notice. And sadly, people like what other people like. That's just the way we as humans operate most of the time. So if you can show people, hey, other people like us, they're going to be more inclined to do the same. And I don't mean just like your Facebook page or like your Instagram post. I mean actually like you as a business. Any local business, you're serving a community. You want longevity. You want to build your name in this community. So that is very important. So level 1 is not about the offer. You may mention that very briefly at the end, but it's not about the offer. It's about the content. It's about the education. I have had entire 5-day challenges just on content creation, and we barely scratched the surface in that. But I can tell you that if you are not creating content that is educating your community and your customer base, you are missing out on a lot of amazing results. So you can't just do that one part. That one part alone is not going to generate a ton of leads and conversions, but it's a very important first step. Level 2 of the ad strategy is really focusing on getting those conversions for the appointments. And so our ads at that level are asking people to sign up for their free design appointment to get their free 3D rendering, focusing on showcasing the transformation as much as possible, really trying to leverage video testimonials and more social proof, as well as, show this process and what it looks like start to finish. Level 3 is retargeting, which is fairly straightforward. We're going to make sure that no one who attempts to sign up or starts to sign up is going to not have another opportunity if the time wasn't right for them. This is something that I, again, really instill in my students, especially. On social media, people did not seek you out at that point. However, they could be in a lot of different scenarios. They could be in the waiting room at the doctor's office. Maybe they see your ad, they start to fill it out, and then their name gets called. They close their phone, they go in. If they didn't save that ad, which 90% of consumers don't even know how to do that, they're not necessarily going to see it again unless you have a very specific retargeting campaign. Even if they go to your page, they're not going to see that ad on your page unless it was a page post, but level 2 ads, they're not page posts. So we wanted to give those people another opportunity. And really everything is just focusing on this free design consultation, free design appointment, where we're actually going to provide you these free 3D renderings. So if you are not a remodeler, this same type of offer can apply to you. This is actually a mix between a loss leader and a product preview offer. So we're going to have an episode that covers offers specifically, I'm sure. I'm actually talking about offers for about an hour for my Facebook Marketing Summit presentation for Social Media Examiner. So if you guys have not gotten your ticket for that, you definitely need to do it. But a product preview offer, it has no value unless someone really intends to buy. A free design rendering is awesome, But what value does it have to someone unless they're really thinking about buying? That's the only time it's going to be useful to them. So you are actually spending time creating something and you're doing this for free. So in theory, it's also a loss leader. It's only useful on its own though, if they take it to somebody else and have them do it, which they could do. That's a risk that you take, but you got to risk it for the biscuit. Okay. A lot of people have very just unfounded beliefs about offers, and they think that if they do something for free or a very low cost, they're just going to lose money. That's not the way it works. There's a very specific offer creation process you need to follow, but you want to get people in with very low risk, show them what you can do, provide them with something of value, develop the rapport, understand their wants and needs, and close the sale. Those are all the elements of really being able to close that sale. So this was an amazing offer for us. That was the ad strategy. Now we'll talk about what happened when they actually got to the funnel. So this funnel was not the prettiest funnel in the world, and it doesn't need to be to convert. I do think it looked nice, and you can absolutely make your funnels look good and still have them convert, but you should put the conversions above the visuals. For me, that's always been hard because I'm a graphic designer. That's what I graduated college with a degree in, but it's not all about that. And really, it was pretty straightforward. We wanted to turn this into something new and novel, make it exciting. I had a video where I'm discussing the process with them, showing them how this is different than what other people are doing and why it's so valuable. And then we're talking about testimonials, lots of social proof. We go through the process of what this looks like, from signing up to meeting with the designer to getting started, making sure that everything is as clear as possible. And that's basically it. Asking them about 6 questions, getting them to opt in, and then ultimately having them schedule their appointment. So on the next page, we're going to have a thank you video that thanks them for scheduling that appointment. And then it tells them exactly what to expect next. What do you need to bring with you? Is this at our location, or is this going to be in your home? Is there anything that you can do to help prepare beforehand? So really clarifying what the process looks like on that thank you page is very important, in my opinion. We also told them, we know that this is a very confusing process for a lot of you. So what we wanted to do was create an education portal that would allow you to educate yourself on your own time, based on what is of most interest to you at this moment, so that you can also be better prepared when you meet with our designer and ask all of the questions that you want to ask. This was an amazing addition to the funnel. This basically was a membership site that I created. I made a ton of videos educating people on this process, on all the different aspects that they would need to know, very heavily based on frequently asked questions, and we would send them to that page after they opted in. This was amazing in thoroughly educating leads before they really got to us. Because of that, those meetings didn't have to take as long because people already had some of that information. They were able to really research on their own, but not just general research as it applied to this specific business, because not every business is going to do things the exact same way. This was really, really powerful for us. I can't tell you how many times these designers said, oh my gosh, our appointments keep talking about these videos and the things that they've learned, and they're coming prepared with their budget, and they know the types of style of cabinet that they're looking for. All of those things that normally they would have to explain. And truth be told, most of these designers, they were not professional salespeople. This is one of those positions where you need to be a great designer, but you're not being paid a salary, as the main portion of your income. It's heavily based on commission. So you've got to be a salesperson first and foremost. However, that was not really something that was looked for when hiring people. And that was not really something that was focused on as much as it should have been, because sales are important. But too many people, they were not comfortable selling. They weren't even comfortable asking for the budget. They definitely weren't comfortable asking for the sale. So if we can kind of take some of that off them by creating videos that are going to be the same for every single person every single time, that's going to allow them to focus more on the things that they have to do on their own. So that is what the funnel looked like. It was a very simple funnel at the end of the day. It was for appointment booking, but it also had this educational portal attached to it, which I've ultimately never really seen anybody else do. Definitely not in the local business space, but it's something that I highly, highly encourage because education is powerful. We use it at the front end of our ad strategy. We use it after someone signs up for an appointment, and we should continue to use it after that meeting and hopefully after the sale. Just because somebody buys does not mean the education has to stop. They could ultimately buy from you again. So what we wanted to do was really allow those people to show up to the appointments, be excited about it, make sure they had the information. So of course we had campaigns that were attached, focusing on exactly what they needed to do, showing them additional testimonials before and afters, just keep them on the line, and then appointment reminders for their actual appointment. For those who would sign up but not schedule, we wanted to have a campaign that was going to help answer some of those questions. They weren't going to have access to the portal yet unless they scheduled their appointment. And so we wanted to make sure that they could still get some of this info that would actually, in a lot of cases, help them realize that they were in fact ready to get started. And that's a very important thing. You need to understand what the biggest sticking points are, what the biggest objections are for your specific business, and create content that addresses that to be used in videos and emails, on landing pages, really anywhere that it applies. So we really needed to follow up with everyone, whether they scheduled an appointment or whether they did not. They signed up, but they may not have scheduled yet. However, these designers, once again, just proved that it was much more difficult than it should have been. I never really quite understood their thought process most of the time because these are people that were working on commission. So if I'm working on commission, I want to sell as much as possible. And instead of relying on random walk-ins that you cannot control, I would have been jumping at the opportunity to call people who had just said that they want an appointment or that had just scheduled an appointment to confirm with them, make sure that they had all the info that they needed. And it's always a great way to just start the relationship early. See if they have any questions before they come in. It's a great step. So what would happen is that I would have all of the email responses or text responses coming to me. And there were people who never received a call from anyone. They never received an email from anyone. And they were reaching out saying, hey, I really want to schedule this appointment. Can someone please give me a call? Maybe I just had a couple of questions first before I scheduled. Can someone call me? So it became very apparent that no one was keeping track of their leads. No one was following up with their leads. If they did call, it was 5 days later, and they'd never call again if someone didn't answer. What everyone has to realize is that we are all busy, we have busy lives, and we are not sitting around waiting for the phone call of someone that we signed up to work with. That's your responsibility as the business. It's not my responsibility as the consumer to beat down your door. I have got to want it more than you do. And that means following up. It's so crucial. So when I saw this, I really attempted to put several different processes in place, but it just became clear that these people did not necessarily have a sales mindset, and they were not willing to do whatever it takes to get a new client or make a new sale. It's unfortunate because the managers, the owners, they care. They care a lot. They're trying to do everything they can to make more money, but sometimes it's the actual employees or the salespeople that will cause you to lose your return on investment from your advertising because they drop the ball, because they simply don't care enough to do what is required. Because of that, I personally took over lead follow-up for over 3 months, to make sure that I knew exactly what was happening, that I was not relying on hearsay from 6 different designers on what was happening. Because if we're honest, people do not want to take responsibility. They always want to try and find something to blame. So if someone said, oh, we can never get a hold of any of them. Well, I knew that couldn't be true because I was getting emails and texts from leads saying that they were waiting and no one was giving them a call and that they didn't know what to do next. So I knew it wasn't accurate. But again, until you really master this thing yourself and know exactly what's happening, it's going to be much more difficult to then instruct somebody else because you are going based off of hearsay, really. And everyone is not honest, unfortunately. So if you're asking one person to tell you the truth about what's happening, maybe that one person will tell you the truth, but 3 other people will tell you different versions of that. And so you don't really know what's accurate. So I took this on myself. I personally scheduled all of the appointments. I confirmed with those people. I called any lead who signed up and did not schedule right away. As in, within 10 minutes of receiving it, I called them. I also had a very specific script that I used, and it was so straightforward and simple. Hey, looks like you just signed up to have an appointment with us. Just wanted to call and see what was the best date and time for you. These people asked for an appointment. They weren't asking to speak with someone because they had questions. They weren't curious about what was being offered. They signed up for an appointment. So any conversation not related to getting them scheduled for that appointment was inappropriate in my mind. When I finally started doing call tracking and listening to these calls, I was appalled. First of all, the lack of energy on the phone from the employees, it's not good. If someone is not excited, that customer on the other end, they're not going to be excited. Why would they be more excited than you are? Also saying, hey, I see that you called us and did you have some questions? No, they did not have questions. They requested an appointment. Of course, they're going to have some questions, but it is not your job to answer all of those questions on the phone right then and there. It's your job to schedule the appointment so that their designer, the person most qualified to answer those questions based on their unique circumstances, can do that for them. If it's about hours, if it's about, which days of the week are best for the appointments, of course, answer it, but always circle back and say, I know you have a lot of great questions. That's awesome. The designer can answer all of those when you come in. What's a good day and time for you? It's very easy. I got 85% of all leads scheduled and would confirm with them, again, with the date and time and all of that good stuff, and make sure that they were followed up with. After doing that, it became clear that these people who were tasked with following up with these leads and scheduling these appointments and confirming these appointments, they just weren't doing their job. And they were lying about it. They were saying that they were doing it, but they weren't actually doing it. And when asked why they weren't converting, they blamed it on the lead quality. That is always a fallback for someone who is not doing what they need to do. They will blame it on the quality of lead. Since that day, call tracking is something that we have done consistently with our clients. We encourage it with our students. We do it internally. If you don't know what types of follow-up are being done through email, text, and phone call, and if you don't know what's being said or how it's being said, you as the business owner will not have the information that you need to make the right decisions or to make the right changes. So that lead follow-up process was hands down the biggest challenge with that business. The way that I overcame that was simply by doing more automation, more education, and ultimately selling in those videos in that education portal so that they did not have to fall back on their subpar sales skills in most scenarios. And I really fine-tuned the lead follow-up process, saying it's not what you guys are saying. That's not what's happening. I know because I now have firsthand experience. I have these responses. I have these results. There's no reason you should not be able to replicate these results on your own, because I didn't need to be doing the lead follow-up and the appointment booking for them. That's absolutely absurd. That was not my job. I was not being paid to do that. It was their job. They were going to make the money if that sale closed, but they didn't care enough to really work for it. They just wanted it to fall in their lap. So if you are a business owner and that is the scenario, or maybe you don't even realize that's the scenario, you need to actively be checking on your salespeople, actively be checking on your designers or the people that are doing estimates, the people answering the phones in your business, the people doing appointment setting, whatever it is, check on them. Listen to what they have to say, but give them instructions down to a T. When it's going to need to take place, exactly what needs to be said, the type of energy they need to have on the phone with it, and the results that you expect based on data. So if you expect 85% of these leads to be booked as appointments, as was my experience for over 3 months, you need to tell them that, because if the numbers are not that, there's a conversation that needs to be had. Everyone is going to have challenges along the way, and that's to be expected. But simply believing something because your employees tell you, it does not make it true. So you as the business owner need to take the initiative to find out for sure and give them the resources to do it better the next time with very specific benchmarks for results that you're going to expect. That will light a fire under them to take more personal responsibility because they know someone's going to be checking on it. One of my favorite quotes is, people respect what you inspect. If you are a business owner and you are not inspecting things on a regular basis to ensure that it's being done the way that you've asked, people are not going to do it. So that is really the overview, the backstory, the offer, the types of advertising, the funnel, and ultimately the results. At the time that I applied for my 2 Comma Club award, we generated over 1.4 million from that single funnel. That was not the only funnel that we had running. I did live educational events very consistently. That was a separate funnel, and that's something that I will definitely be talking about another day. But hopefully this gives you some ideas about ways that you can improve. It shows you what's possible, but ultimately my best recommendation is, number 1, have a great offer, okay? Number 2, get great at marketing on these platforms. You need to be committed because they're not going anywhere. They may change over time, but social media marketing as a whole is not going anywhere. And it's the same process that we would use on any social media platform when we're advertising. The next thing is, you need to have a streamlined process for your leads. You cannot be sending them to the homepage of your website and expect them to know what to do. You've got to lay it out for them step by step with one clear goal in mind. Next, you need to automate as much as possible to reduce human error. And that doesn't mean there won't be technical error. There's always going to be things like that. But at least you know that these people that you're spending money to acquire, they're being followed up with consistently. They're being told the right things, they're getting the right information, and you can actually do some selling if your salespeople are not quite where they need to be. Finally, you really need to be checking on what's happening. You cannot just ask what the results are and take it for what it is. You need to really look, dig, and even be willing to go above and beyond and do certain things yourself so that you know for sure what's happening, why it's happening, and how you can improve on it. So if you guys have any other questions about this, definitely let me know. Super exciting to share this with you. Really looking forward to getting my next 2 Comma Club award for a totally different type of business, totally different type of funnel. It's going to be awesome. I really enjoy Clickfunnels and the platform, so I'll drop my link in the show notes so that if you want to sign up for your 14-day free trial, you can absolutely do that. And I will see you next time.